Forget everything you thought you knew about Hollywood. The streaming giant didn't just beat the old guard, it ate it alive. We're talking about an $83 billion earthquake that just vaporized a century of movie history. This isn't just a deal, it's the end of an era. Welcome to the New World Order.
All right, let's talk about the deal that has completely shaken up the entertainment world. The purchase of Warner Bros. By Netflix isn't just another headline. Nope, it's a seismic event. An earthquake that's redrawing the map of Hollywood as we know it. Let's get into it. You know, it really all boils down to one brutal headline. Streaming eats cinema. For years, this felt like a slow-moving trend, something for industry experts to debate. But this deal? This makes it a fact. The new giants aren't just competing with the old guard anymore, they're literally devouring them whole. And here it is, the number that makes it all real. $82.7 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't just money changing hands. It's a massive transfer of power, of history, and of culture, all packed into one dizzying figure. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the deal itself. Then we'll dive into Netflix's huge gamble versus the legacy of Warner. After that, we'll explore the shockwaves hitting the industry, what it costs us as viewers, and finally, what the new power map in Hollywood really looks like. Okay, let's start with the specifics. What exactly happened on December 5th, 2025? This wasn't just Netflix buying another studio. This was Netflix acquiring a foundational pillar of Hollywood. Let's look at how the deal is structured, because it's pretty clever. Netflix gets the crown jewels, the Warner Studios, the prestige of HBO, and its streaming rival HBO Max. But here's the crucial detail. Traditional cable channels like CNN and TNT are being spun off first. That's a super strategic move, almost certainly to make it easier to get past the regulators. This timeline just shows the insane speed of this change. In 1997, Netflix was mailing out DVDs. Less than 30 years later, it's buying the studio that gave us Casablanca. It's an absolutely mind-blowing journey. But check out that last date. This isn't a done deal yet. It still has to clear some major hurdles before it's expected to close in 2026. Which brings us to the heart of the matter from a business perspective. Netflix's massive gamble. Why would a company spend nearly $83 billion to buy one of its biggest competitors? But behind that feel-good statement, there is a cold, calculated economic strategy at play. From an economic standpoint, almost all of Netflix's intellectual property is pretty young. They're missing that century of storytelling that builds franchises that last for generations. And this is what they bought. They didn't just add more shows. They acquired the bedrock of popular culture. Harry Potter, the DC Universe, Game of Thrones. These aren't just assets. They're entire ecosystems of movies, merchandise, and theme parks. They essentially just bought a 100-year head start in legacy building. So how does the balance sheet shake out? The pros are gigantic, absolute control. But that cons list is frankly terrifying. The financial risk is immense. And that last line is a killer, a potential $5.8 billion penalty if the deal falls through. This is a bet that will define the company's future.
Of course, for every buyer, there's a seller. So what does this mean for Warner Bros., an institution that's shaped global culture for a century? For them, this really is the end of an era. They go from being the architect to being the bricks. A deal this big doesn't happen in a vacuum. The second the news was announced, you could feel the aftershocks ripple through the entire industry. The new combined company would have over 428 million subscribers. That's not just leading the market, that's creating a superpower that dwarfs the competition. That level of consolidation gives them immense leverage in every single negotiation. The first and most immediate fear comes from movie theaters. Netflix built its empire by avoiding theaters. Will theatrical releases become just a formality? The Writers Guild fears a race to the bottom. The fear is that the old Hollywood is being replaced by a monolithic, data-driven content machine.
All of this analysis brings us to the most important question of all. What does this mean for us, for the audience? Is Netflix's victory a defeat for us, the subscribers? The answer? Well, it's complicated. On one hand, the promise is tempting. A massive library all in one place. Imagine Stranger Things and Game of Thrones on the same app. But the risks are just as real. With a major competitor gone, what's stopping Netflix from raising prices? And will they keep taking creative risks, or will they play it safe? Remember, this isn't a done deal. Regulators in the US and Europe will be looking at this with a microscope for monopoly concerns. Any one of these could bring the whole thing crashing down. In the end, this entire $83 billion earthquake comes down to one single question. Does one single massive content empire lead to better art? Or does it just lead to a safer, more predictable world of sequels and spin-offs? The answer won't just define the next era of entertainment. It will determine which stories get told and which ones get left in a drawer forever.